become the wife of the moon goddess, Tamamo. But her path is riddled with danger. Her charm skill, a gift turned curse, could either seduce allies or drive them to kill her. When she teams up with Velvet, a vampire oracle, their bond sparks a chain of events that will rewrite the balance of power in a world blending ancient Greece, Japan, and Europe. Meet Luna, a fox spirit reborn with memories of her past life and a mission from the moon goddess, Tamamo. Bound by a medallion and a prophecy, she must reach level 20, face her tragic past in a cursed dungeon, and uncover the truth behind her mysterious death. Along the way, she'll team up with Velvet, a vampire oracle with her own agenda, and navigate a world where every step could lead to love, betrayal, or annihilation. After spending 2 hours in line, I finally entered the capital. What I saw was a strange mix of ancient Greece, Japan, and Europe. The castle in the center of the city was Japanese style. The buildings around the gate and along the roads around me were in European style, and from what I can see of what I would assume is the nobles district or Greek oikos. As I started walking down the road, I started talking to Tamamo. This feels weird. There are so many different styles of building here that are really similar to buildings in my previous world. Is there any reason for that? I'm not really sure myself. I would have asked one of the crafting gods about that, but I don't really want to do that, she said with an annoyed tone. Do you not get along well with them? I asked, curious. It's not that. I'm good friends with a few of them. It's just the younger ones are always trying to seduce me. I see. Then I need to learn how to kill a god or two, I said with a dark expression. Oh, and I thought I was the possessive one, she said laughing. It was at this point that the young crafting gods started to feel chills going down their spines. As I was walking around, I found myself in the middle of a big square. Looking around, I saw a building larger than the others. On the sign in the front was a symbol with a sword and stave crossed and surrounded by 2 pairs of wings. I guess that's the Adventurers Guild, I said to myself, walking up to the door. When I entered, I was greeted with a calm yet busy scene. People were lined up at the counters, single file. They moved smoothly and no one was causing a disturbance. I could hear loud noises coming from the 3rd floor of the building, so I assumed that was a bar. Honestly, could they add some soundproofing up there? I complained to myself. I was taught how to dull my sense of hearing and smell during my training, but it was still loud enough to be annoying. It was then that a guild employee walked up to me. She was a demon girl that was about the same height as me. She had 2 horns growing out of her forehead that were the same color as her skin and ended with purplish tips. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild. Is there anything you need help with? She greeted me with a business smile. I'm here to register as an adventurer. Which counter do I go to for that? I asked, politely retuning a smile. She blushed a little then said, it's right this way. I followed her, confused by her reaction. You need to realize that you are quite the looker, Luna. If you're not careful, you'll attract some annoying fleas, Tamamo warned, a hint of jealousy in her voice. Really, I don't think so, at least not compared to you anyway, I said, trying to soothe her. You have no idea how happy it makes me to hear you say that. I could tell she was smiling with the way she said that. Once we reached the counter, the demon girl started preparing documents that needed to be filled out. They were simple: name, race, class, where you're from, that kind of stuff. Once I finished filling that out, I handed over the documents. Then, Miss Luna, all that's left is to get your card and receive an explanation on how the guild works, she said, trying to be professional. I could see her stealing glances my way while she was putting a large crystal ball on a stand and placed a metallic card beneath it. Please place your hand here and pass a small amount of magic through it. I did as she asked and touched the crystal ball. It shone for a second, then a small beam of light shot out from the bottom, engraving my information on the card. How interesting, I said. I wonder how this works. I'm not really sure myself. All I know is it's really complicated. Anyway, are you ready for the explanation? She asked. Yes, I answered. I already knew how the guild worked since it was one of the things Dad taught me. I pretended to listen to the whole thing while talking with Tamamo. After about minutes, the receptionist finished her explanation. That should about cover it. Do you have any questions? She asked. No, I'm good, I answered back. My name is Shuten. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild, she said with a smile. Thank you. Before I forget, could you show this to the guildmaster? I asked as I took out the letter of introduction Dad gave to me. The guildmaster? She asked as she took the letter from me, confused. When she read the name on the letter, her eyes went wide. I'll deliver this right away. Please wait for a moment, she said and ran off. After about 5 minutes, Shuten returned. Please follow me. The guildmaster would like to meet you. She seemed a bit nervous as she led me to the 4th floor. We stopped in front of a big door at the end of the hall. Shuten knocked on the door and waited for a reply. I heard a voice tell us to come in, so Shuten opened the door. Sitting behind the desk was a slightly muscular elf. He had long green hair the shade of pine needles. He had one blue eye and a green one. When he saw me, he stood up and walked over to me. He offered a handshake and I obliged. It's nice to meet you, Miss Luna. I am Vince, the guild master of Savannah's guild branch, he said with a gentle smile. To what do I owe the pleasure of meeting with you today? I just arrived in the capital and finished registering with the guild, and I thought I should greet you. I replied, retuning his smile with one of my own. I see. Why don't you take a seat so we can talk? He said, moving over to a couch. As we sat down, Shuten prepared some tea. We talked about small unimportant things for a bit until she was done. When she finished pouring the tea, she left the room. We took a sip from our cups when the guildmaster spoke. The letter from your father said that you would be going to the main office of the guild in the Celestia Kingdom soon. Is that correct? He asked, getting straight to the point. That is the plan, though I plan to raise my rank some first. I know I need to be at least D rank to be able to freely move between countries. I answered, taking another sip of tea. This tea is quite good. It's from my home country. I only have it served to important guests or nobles. He pridefully explained. By the way, how exactly do you know my father? I've never heard him mention you before. I asked. He is a general of this country, so we have worked together in the past. He also fought alongside my sister against the King of Fiends. Is your sister the elf general by any chance? I asked. My interest piqued. She is, he replied. I wonder if I will ever meet her. Dad told me she was the best at archery in the whole United Army. I kind of want to test my skill against hers. I said, my competitive spirit showing. Ha ha ha. I see you are as competitive as your father. He laughed. We continued to chat for a while longer about my father. Before I knew it, it started getting dark. It seems to be getting late. I should go, I said, standing up. Do you need me to recommend you an inn? He asked, moving back to his desk. No, I plan on staying at an inn called Fox's Mirror. I was told it's close to the guild. I said, declining his offer. Yes, it right across the square. Just exit the guild and go straight. He sat down and gave me directions. Thank you very much, I said, bowing my head a little. It's nothing. I enjoyed chatting with you. You are very easy to talk to, unlike the other nobles out there. He said wearily. Well, I wasn't really raised like a noble. Heck, I learned my family name just before I left the shrine village, I replied as I left the room, shutting the door behind me. I walked down the stairs and headed to the door. I saw Shuten out of the corner of my eye and waved to her. She waved back, then went back to her work. I then left the guild building and started to walk in the direction of the inn. For a split second I thought I felt someone staring at me, but the feeling vanished just as quickly. Hey Tamamo, do you know if anyone is watching me? I asked. You are, but it's not important. They are just some followers of mine that have business in this city. They probably noticed that there is some form of connection between us and are looking out for you. If they start to bother you, I can always tell them to ignore you, she explained with a sigh. Is something big going to happen? I asked, starting to get worried. No, they're always like that. It seems like they are preparing the area for a VIP that is coming to the guild in the next few days. Okay, then, if you say so, I said, and continued to make my way to the inn. When I reached the door and went inside, I was greeted with a great smell. It smelled like stew and freshly baked bread. My stomach started growling, making me realize I hadn't eaten in a while. I walked up to the reception desk and found a middle-aged rabbit woman there. Hello there, young lady, how can I help you? She said cheerfully. I'm looking for a place to stay for a little while. I was recommended this inn by an adventurer named Jarl. I answered. A recommendation from that good-for-nothing? That's impressive. He doesn't normally talk to anyone aside from his party members, especially pretty girls like you, she said, surprised. Really, he was quite talkative the last few days, I replied. You must have really made a good impression on him. For that I'll let you stay for free for the first night and the meal will be on the house. You'll have to pay if you're going to stay any longer though, she said. Thank you, I'll put in a good word for you the next time I meet him then, I said, giving her a wink. I'd appreciate it more if you put a good word in for me with Mr. Apollo, she said, laughing at my misunderstanding. Will do. Your room will be on the 3rd floor, second room on the right. Will you be having a meal now or later? She asked, getting back to business. I'll take it now. I don't think I can take smelling it anymore before I go and eat whatever I see, I said, my stomach grumbling again. Then come on back and take a seat. I'll have it right out, she said as she went to the kitchen. I sat down and waited for a few minutes when she returned with a bowl and plate of bread. I dug in immediately. This is amazing, I said, my eyes shining. Thanks, I try my best, the proprietress said as she walked back over to the front desk. When you're done, just leave the stuff there. When I finished, I walked up to the 3rd floor and opened the door to my room and laid down on the bed. I let out a long sigh. A bed after so long is nice. Hey, before you go to sleep you should read that letter from the goddess of fate, Tamamo said. Oh right, there was that. I can't believe I forgot, I said, pulling out the letter and started to read. Author's note, sorry it took so long to get this out. I had to help out with some stuff because it's really windy. There might be one more chapter today, but don't be surprised if there isn't one. Thanks for reading. Going back a few hours when Luna just arrived at the guild. In an oikos-like building in the nobles district, a hooded figure sits down at the head of a table, removing the hood to reveal a woman who looks to be in her early s with shoulder-length light pink hair and crimson eyes. When she opens her mouth to speak, two fangs can be seen. Report, has anything happened recently that I need to be aware of? She asks in a demanding tone. Nothing has happened in the last month that is worthy of your attention, ma'am, reports an old man with the same crimson eyes and fangs. Good, then I will give out a new mission. This morning I noticed a kitsune girl coming to the city. She had black hair and tail with silver tips on her tail and ears, looked to be about with a slightly above average chest. Find out anything you can about her, said the vampire woman. Is there something off about this girl, ma'am? Asked the old man, confused. Not exactly. She might have a strong connection to the goddess of the moon. If she does, we need to make sure she doesn't run into much trouble. Once you get any information about her, tell me immediately. The old man's eyes widened in surprise. Right away, ma'am, he said and disappeared into the shadows. Now I wait, the woman thought to herself. After a while the old man returned with what information he and his subordinates could gather. Ma'am, a report. The girl you spoke of is named Luna Reed. She is and comes from the Shrine Village. She is the only daughter of Amagi and Deacon Reed. She left the Shrine Village 2 weeks ago and arrived here today. As you know, that is all we could gather in this short amount of time. If you give us 3 days, we can send some people to the Shrine Village to gather more, the old man reported. No need. I've been thinking while you were out and decided that I will personally watch over this girl and determine if she is connected to the goddess or not, the woman said in a light tone. Are you sure, Lady Velvet? There is no telling what could happen to the organization if something happened to you, the old man said with a worried tone. Oh please, you and I both know that's not true. You practically run this organization already. If anything, I'm just a figurehead that is used to keep those younger ones in check, Velvet said in a joking manner. While that's mostly true, you are still one of the few vampires in this city with the ability to hear the goddess's words, the old man argued stubbornly. Enough of this, both of you, said a third voice. The shadows in a corner of the room seemed to darken a little more as a woman in a red dress appeared out of them. The old man kneeled on one knee while Velvet stayed seated. To what do I owe the pleasure, mother? Velvet asked, genuine curiosity flashing across her face. You never show up here unless something big is happening. Call it a mother's intuition. Oh, daughter, mine. I feel like several important events are about to take place in this city and I simply couldn't miss it. Not to mention you were about to leave this place without a leader and dump all of your responsibilities onto poor Stewart over here, she said chuckling. If you truly are going to try and watch over this Luna girl, why don't you register as an adventurer as well and try to join her party? There is truly no better place to watch over someone than directly by their side after all. I'll even let you take the Daystar ring so you can go around without a cloak, the vampire woman said, taking out a crystalline ring. Thank you, mother, and don't worry, I'll be back in a few hundred years. As she said this, both Velvet and her mother heard someone speak directly to their minds. I won't stop you from doing this, but please don't go overboard like your race normally does. Goddess, both Velvet and her mother exclaimed at the same time. So then that Luna girl really has a connection to you, goddess? Asked Velvet in a shaky tone. Of course, she does. She is going to be my wife, Tamamo said with pride. The two froze on the spot, eyes open so wide they could fall out any moment. I'm only telling the two of you this since the others would start to go crazy, especially that one who thinks I'm in love with him, Tamamo said coldly. The two felt the room's temperature drop several degrees. Do you want us to take care of the despicable piece of trash? Velvet asked, visibly shaking in fear of Tamamo's tone and anger at the vampire whose ego was growing too large. No, I'll leave him to Luna. She'll do many more terrible things to him than either of you would. Just don't tell her right now or she'll likely try to go hunt him down immediately and she's not strong enough to face him yet, Tamamo said, her voice going back to her normal cheerful tone. Understood, they both said. Oh, and Velvet, was it? Please be a good friend to Luna. I want her to have someone to rely on since I can't be down there myself, Tamamo said with hints of sadness and loneliness mixed in her voice. When the two heard that, they felt a deep sense of pity for their goddess. I understand, goddess. I will do my utmost best to befriend her. I will make sure that when the time comes nothing will stand in her way on her path to be by your side, even if it kills me, Velvet said with determination. Okay, and a little heads up, in a few years there will be another kitsune coming along to join Luna's party. Try not to get on her bad side. They treat each other like sisters, and she can be a bit of a siscon, Tamamo said as an afterthought. What's a siscon? Velvet asked, confused. Just think of it like a little sister who is extremely attached and overprotective of her older sister to the point it's nearly an obsession, Tamamo explained. How scary, Velvet said, shivering for a different reason that earlier. As the two felt the connection to Tamamo close off, they both let out weary sighs. That is a lot to take in, said Velvet, rubbing the bridge of her nose. Yes, it is, agreed her mother, while doing the same gesture as her daughter. What did the goddess order, ma'am? Asked Stewart, who was completely forgotten. Nothing for you to worry about. She ordered Velvet to accompany God the Luna girl on her adventures. Velvet's mother said, almost slipping up, "Steward, this is an executive order. Don't let anyone else know that the goddess spoke to us tonight, especially the leader of the organization in the Demon Empire." Velvet's mother commanded. "Understood," is all he said in reply. It was rare for any leader of the organization to issue an executive order. The only times it happened were when the goddess herself gave the order through one of the leaders or they were going to war. There haven't been any signs of war recently, so this could only be an order from the goddess herself, reasoned the old man. "Velvet, you should go and prepare. You will be signing up at the Adventurers Guild tomorrow and try to make contact with Luna. If all goes well, join her party. I don't know what will happen in the future, but I expect that bug changes are on the horizon." Velvet's mother said, "It's been years since the last time a mortal became a god, and after that we got the Adventurers Guild. I wonder how this future goddess is going to change the world." She thought, letting out an inaudible chuckle. Author's note: this will be the last chapter of the day. In order for me to not burn out while writing this story, I will be taking a break from the rest of today until Friday. Thank you to those who showed concern for me in the comments. While I can't give you anything physically, I will at least make sure to deliver quality storytelling in the future for you to enjoy. Thank you all for reading. I look forward to writing for all of you again soon. Opening the letter, I start to read. "Hello, Luna, I am the goddess of fate, Atmos. I hope you have been enjoying your new life so far. It is certain to be entertaining to watch. Anyway, I am going to give you a goal that will help you in the future. Though you probably haven't noticed, the way you died in your previous life has had an effect on you. There are a few ways to help with that. Tamamo and I have prepared one way to help you. I am going to assume that your father gave you the medallion. So you need to reach level, then head to the Adventurers Guild main office in the Celestia Kingdom. Hand that medallion to a receptionist and meet with the Grand Master. He will then let you reunite with a certain pair. You can do whatever you want with them. After that is done, head over to the dungeon that the previous you died in. Only after you clear that dungeon can you move on and get stronger. I have high hopes for you. Also, I see Tamamo as a little sister, so please, treat her well in the future. You two go great together. P.S. When we get to meet in person, I'll tell you all the things about Tamamo you want to know, no matter how embarrassing they are for her." "Excuse me, Luna, I have to go have a discussion with a certain nosy goddess," Tamamo said coldly. "Do go a little easy on her, please. I want to meet my sister-in-law at least once." "Okay," I said, not stopping her. "Got it. Oh, and before I go, in the next few days someone is going to request to join your party. Don't reject them immediately." "Is it one of those people that was watching me earlier?" I asked. "Yes and no. She is part of their organization, but she wasn't the one watching you directly. I asked her to join your party in the hopes the two of you could become friends. I know you think you will be fine alone because you are strong, but I want to make you safer. I won't be able to descend and save you if something happens, so I wanted you to have at least one person to rely on. I know Soleil will join you in a few years, but a lot can happen between then and now," she explained, worry in her voice. "I understand. Do you know the name of this person?" I asked back, deeply moved by Tamamo's feelings of concern towards me. "If I remember correctly, it should be Velvet," she replied, relieved by my acceptance. "I'll remember it," I said with a small smile. "Good, now I'm off to talk with my big sister," she said, the coldness returning to her voice. The next day, I woke up early due to the smell coming from downstairs. Honestly, having a nose this good can be a blessing and a curse. I walked downstairs to see a few people already eating breakfast. "Well, if it isn't Miss Luna, you're up quite early," said the inn proprietress, smiling. "I don't know anyone who could sleep in while smelling something so good," I replied, returning her smile. "Oh ho, you must have a real good nose on you if you can smell food from the third floor. Take a seat anywhere and I'll bring you some breakfast," she said, walking off into the kitchen. I sat down and waited for about 5 minutes when she returned with a plate of eggs and bacon and some bread. She also carried a small bowl of soup to soften the bread to make it more edible. "Thanks," I said as she placed the plate and bowl down in front of me. "It's no big deal. You eat up now or you'll be too late to pick up any good requests at the guild," she said, going over to another table to clean it. I did as she said and started eating. The bacon was domed perfectly and the eggs were fluffy. Not as fluffy as my tail, but fluffy, nonetheless. The bread and soup complemented each other perfectly as well. She must have the cooking skill at a high level if a simple breakfast like this is this good. After I finished, I stood up, thanked her again, and left for the guild. When I got there was a large crowd standing in front of the request board. After contemplating whether or not to jump into the fray, I noticed Shuten waving me over. I decided it would be better for me to see what she wanted, so I went over to her. "Good morning, Miss Luna. I'm assuming you're here to get a request?" she asked, even though she already knew my answer. "I am, though I might as well wait a while for that to calm down," I said as I pointed my chin towards the horde at the board. "Yeah, it's like that every morning. If you want to get a good quest, it's better to get here earlier, though you don't have to worry about that for the time being," she said with a mischievous smile. "And why is that?" I asked, a little put off by her smile. "The guild master told me to help you out with this. I can't give you access to high-rank quests, but I can help when it comes to quests like goblin or kobold subjugation or gathering quests. I can even give you options for miscellaneous quests around the city," she answered, going back to her previous business smile. "I see. Then can I get a subjugation quest for goblins and kobolds?" I requested. "Sure, just give me a minute to process them and you will be good to go," she said, and started filling out the required paperwork. Just then, I felt someone's eyes on me. It was the same feeling as yesterday, so I didn't pay it any mind since Tamamo said it was okay. Shuten finished filling out the paperwork and said, "Just hand me your card for a second and we'll be done." I handed over my card and she placed it on a tool that did something. It glowed for a second, then she handed me back my card. "You're all set. You have 3 days to complete the requests, so make sure to prepare well," she said, and waved to me as I walked off. After exiting the guild, I headed for the gate of the city. I remember hearing some adventurers talking about how goblins and kobolds lived at the forest near the capital. When I got to the gate, there was already a line forming on the other side. I showed my card to the gate guard and left the city. While making my way to the forest, I felt a presence behind me. The area I was in had lots of tall grass that reached my waist. I stopped and called out, "You realize I know you're following me, right?" I heard the grass rustling a little ways away and a woman that looked to be in her early s came over. She was wearing light armor with a slender sword at her hip. She had light pink hair that went down to her shoulders and crimson eyes. If I didn't have Tamamo, I might have fallen for her just due to her looks. She walked closer to me and started speaking. "I'm sorry for following you. You see, I just registered at the guild earlier and took some subjugation quests. I then overheard your conversation with the receptionist and learned that you took the same quests as I did. I thought, since we both seem to be new, we could work together on them," she said a little nervously. "What is your name?" I asked with suspicion. "It's Velvet," she said with a smile. "So, you're the one Tamamo told me about," I said, waiting for her reaction. "So, you already know then?" she asked, all the nervousness from before vanishing. "She told me last night that someone named Velvet would make contact with me and try to join my party," I said, my suspicions still there. "I know Tamamo asked me not to reject her, but I can't just trust someone right off the bat. I won't reject you joining me for now, but know that I don't trust you yet." "That is completely understandable. I won't get in your way. I am just following what the goddess asked of me," she replied. We started walking again with Velvet coming up beside me. "So, what exactly did Tamamo tell you about me?" I asked in order to break the silence. "The goddess told me and my mother that you will be her wife and that I should try to become your friend," she said. "I see. She also asked me to try and be friends with you, so I'm willing to try, but it's not going to happen immediately," I said. "What can you tell me about yourself? And please loosen up a little. You're too nervous." She jumped a little when I pointed that out. After a few seconds she started to talk. "As you already know, my name is Velvet. I am a vampire who serves as an oracle of the moon goddess. I work in an organization of vampires based in the capital of Savannah," she said, while still a little nervous. "A vampire, eh? Is there some kind of magic item that lets you walk outside during the day?" I asked, curious. "It's this ring right here," she said, showing me a ring on her finger. "If you don't mind my asking, can you also tell me about yourself as well?" "I don't mind. My name is Luna. I come from the Shrine Village. My mother is the head shrine maiden, Amaji, and my father is a general of this country named Deacon. I plan on growing stronger in order to join Tamamo in the divine domain," I said, giving a simple introduction and telling her what my end goal is. "I hope we can get along in the future." As I said this, we arrived at the entrance of the forest. Author's note: I have returned, and with my return I bring you all a new chapter. I hope you all enjoy. There will be more to come. I even thought up another pun name for a future character, so look forward to that. In other news, anyone else play FGO? If you do, how did you like Lost Belt? I just finished it and it was interesting. Screw fighting Demeter though, never again. It was early the next morning after our discussion and the oracle from the goddess. I did as I was told and went to the Adventurers Guild to register. The process went quickly, and when it was finished, I went off to find a spot to wait for Lady Luna to show up. I didn't have to wait very long. She showed up after about minutes. I only got a glimpse of her from far away yesterday, but seeing her closer, she is quite beautiful. She had long black hair that reminded me of a moonless night with an equally black tail. The dark color made the silver ends of her ears and tail stand out. She was at an average height for her age, but her chest was a bit bigger. Her eyes, from the split second I saw them, were silver that almost seemed to glow a little. If it wasn't for the fact that she was going to be the wife of the goddess, I would have loved to have her for myself. I snapped myself out of my thoughts when she suddenly turned around and looked in my direction. I looked away, hoping she didn't realize that I was the one staring at her. After that, she left the guild to go and do the quests she received. I went up to the reception desk and took the same quest she did and followed after her. After leaving the city gate, I activated my stealth skill and went after Lady Luna. A short while later she stopped and said, "You realize I know you're following me, right?" It seems like she is quite skilled with detecting presences. I walked out of the tall grass while deactivating my skill. I quickly thought up an excuse and started to speak. "I'm sorry for following you. You see, I just registered at the guild earlier and took some subjugation quests. I then overheard your conversation with the receptionist and learned that you took the same quests as I did. I thought, since we both seem to be new, we could work together on them." I tried to sound nervous. "What is your name?" she asked me with suspicion in her eyes. "It's Velvet," I answered her, smiling to show I held no hostility. "So, you're the one Tamamo told me about," she said. When I heard her say this, I was shocked. I know the goddess told us she was her future wife, but I didn't know that she could also receive oracles. I dropped the nervous act and asked her, "So, you already know then?" I wanted to know how much the goddess told her about me and what she wanted from me. She told me last night that someone named Velvet would make contact with me and try to join my party. "I won't reject you joining me for now, but know that I don't trust you yet," she said, still being cautious of me. It's good to know that she is smart enough not to completely trust someone right off the bat like this, but that also poses an issue for my other task from the goddess. That is completely understandable. I won't get in your way. I'm just following what the goddess asked of me, I said, relaying my true intentions. After my answer, we started walking to the forest to complete our quests. She asked me what the goddess told us about her, and I answered her honestly. "I see. She also asked me to try and be friends with you, so I'm willing to try, but it's not going to happen immediately. What can you tell me about yourself? And please loosen up a little. You're too nervous," she said, when she pointed out what state my mind was in. It surprised me. She seems like the kind of person I would get along with easily. After thinking for a bit about what to say, I gave her my introduction. She seemed surprised when I mentioned I was a vampire, so she asked, "A vampire, eh? Is there some kind of magic item that lets you walk outside during the day?" It seems I piqued her curiosity, so I explained that the ring I was wearing helped me out during the day. I then asked her about herself. She told me her name and where she was from as well as who her parents were. I knew this information already, but I didn't tell her that. I was surprised when she told me her main goal. I knew she would one day join the goddess in the divine domain. It was only natural after all. The surprising thing was that she just plainly told me. Normally one would wait until the other party was trusted more before telling them their end goal. "I hope we can get along in the future," was the last thing she told me before we reached the edge of the forest. Luna POV. "So, Miss Velvet, how do you want to handle this? Go together, or separately, and meet back up later?" I asked for her plan of action. "Just Velvet is fine, and I think we should go together. We won't learn how the other fights if we go separately," she said without a moment's hesitation. "I understand where you're coming from, but our opponents are just goblins and kobolds. I don't know your level, but I'm assuming it is decently high. Would you really consider it a fight? It'd be more accurate to call it a slaughter," I said, giving her my honest opinion. "For starters, I'm at level right now, and second, while what you say is true, one can still learn quite a bit from just fighting small fry like this," she explained. "Oh, since you are a vampire, I just assumed you were older than you looked and had a higher level. Also, I see your point, so we will go together. I'll be on the lookout for kobolds since I have fought some before and know their scent, though I wish I could forget it," I said, a sour look on my face. After a while of being in the forest, I picked up the scent of kobolds on the wind. Mixed in with the smell of wet dog was a more putrid stench that made me want to vomit, and the metallic smell of blood. "Velvet, I smell kobolds and goblins nearby. They must be fighting each other because I also smell blood," I told her in a whisper. "Got it. Which direction?" she whispered back. "We keep heading in the direction we're going, and we'll run into them. I'll take this group and you can watch how I fight. If you can see, that is," I finished with a playful smirk. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, but I was already gone. Velvet POV. After telling me to watch how she fights, Lady Luna disappeared. She must have been using the stealth skill. I walked a little more until I found the area she was talking about earlier. I activated my own stealth skill and waited. The area had many corpses of goblins and kobolds, while there were about 10 left in total, 5 each. It was then that the area started to become foggy. It was an unnaturally cold fog that felt like it was dulling my senses. While I was wondering what was going on, I started to hear the sounds of fighting earlier stop. I squinted my eyes to try and make out what was happening when I started to see flashes of silver light. "Lightning magic, I guess, and maybe this fog is an ice magic spell?" I said quietly to myself. I continued to watch when a shadow appeared next to me. "Enjoying the show?" it asked. "Is that you, Lady Luna?" I asked after recovering from my surprise. "Just Luna is fine, and yes, I left them fighting in illusion for a bit. I came over here to tell you that you should move out of the mist for a bit. It's about to get colder than you can handle," she warned. "What about you?" I asked, concerned. "This mist is from a unique skill, so it doesn't affect me. I still haven't practiced enough with it to be able to distinguish between allies and enemies yet, and I don't want you to freeze to death," she said, again urging me to get out of the mist. "I got it. How far do you need me to go?" "Not that far. See that tree over there with the spiraling trunk? I made it so that the mist doesn't go past it," she said, walking further into the mist. I walked over to the tree she pointed out and exited the mist. From the outside it looked quite mystical, a long wall of fog that came to an unnatural stop, like it was trapped by invisible walls. While I was watching the wall of mist, I felt the sudden drop in temperature. It became quite cold where I was standing, so I couldn't imagine what it was like inside. I picked up a random stick and stuck one end of it into the mist. When I pulled it back out, the other end was completely frozen. I shuddered thinking about what was happening to the kobolds and goblins inside. I hope she remembers that she needs to grab proofs of subjugation afterwards. I mumbled quietly. It was then that I saw a small shadow running my way. It was about the size of a child and had a long nose and ears. Just as it reached the edge of the mist, it stepped on a tripwire and a panel of ice covered in spikes whipped up from the ground, impaling the goblin. When did she even have the time to set that up? I asked myself, astonished. Not only ice and lightning magic, but good with traps and stealth, and having a unique skill on top of that. Just how out of common sense is she? After a few more minutes, the mist started clearing rapidly. Once it cleared completely, the landscape looked like a completely different place. The trees were covered in a layer of ice and frost, and on the ground were patches of ice spread out everywhere. I heard Luna call out from a distance, "Wait there for a bit so I can go around and collect the traps I placed." "Got it," I answered back while thinking. "How many did you place?" After a couple of minutes, she called over to me to come and meet up with her. When I got to where she was, all I saw was a scene of carnage. There were burnt and frozen corpses scattered around. There was another goblin impaled on a different wall of ice spikes and a kobold hanging from a tree. "This is quite the horrible scene," I said while sighing in relief that she was an ally. I pity that piece of trash that deluded himself into believing the goddess was in love with him. I thought, I think I could do better, honestly. "Now it's time for your turn. Let's find some more," she said after collecting the parts she needed as proof. Author's note, second chapter of the day. In recent news, someone approached me about making a cover for this story, so everybody should thank @maze_runner for their work. It has also come to my attention that I forgot the SCR stat, so I'm going to go back through and fix that. Thanks all for reading. There's more to come. After I finished collecting the proofs of subjugation, we moved on to find more. I know I leveled up once from this fight, but I will wait to check my status later. If we go a bit west, we'll find a pack of kobolds. I'm not sure about the exact number, but it should be the amount you need, I told Velvet. "Okay, then when we get closer, hide yourself and watch," she said a bit competitively. When we got close enough, I let Velvet know I will be watching from a tree. After telling her that, I climbed a tree next to me. She then pulled out her sword. It looked like a rapier, but something was strange about it. She got close enough to the kobolds for them to notice her presence. She then swung her sword and the blade extended to the length of a whip. "Oh, a sword whip, how interesting," I said to myself. "This is going to be fun to watch." "Your inner battle maniac is coming out again," Tamamo said, chuckling. "I can't help it. I've always wanted to see someone use one of those," I replied back, flustered. The blade whipped around, cutting the head off one kobold and wrapping around the neck of another. Velvet then tugs back on the handle and that kobold also loses its head. She creates a large fireball and makes it float in the air, making more shadows appear. She then uses a dark magic spell that produces spikes from shadows and impales the rest of the kobolds. "And you said the scene I made was horrible," I said in a teasing tone. "I got a little too into it." "Sorry," she said, drooping her head. "It's no problem. Let's find you some goblins," I replied, jumping down from the tree. I know what I said about not trusting her earlier, but I feel like I'm trusting her a bit too much too quickly. "Hey Tamamo, am I just too easy to trust a person, or is she doing something to my mind with magic or a skill?" I asked, worried. "She's not doing anything. While I think you trust others a little too easily from what I've seen so far, you have good intuition for people. It's not at the level of a diviner, but it's still quite good. She is also trying to earn your trust. Anytime you asked her a question, she has answered with honesty, and she hasn't given you any false information about herself," Tamamo explained, easing my worry a bit. As I was going over the potential problems with myself with Tamamo, we found a group of goblins. Velvet took them out just as quickly. "Do you want to keep hunting, or return to the guild?" I asked. "We should head back. It'll take a while for us to get out of the forest, then even longer to get back to the city," she said, her opinion sound. I debated whether to share my space magic, but decided against it for the moment. It took about 3 hours to get out of the forest and another hour to get back to the city. By the time we reached the gate, it was already getting late. "I didn't think it would take that long to get back," I said, exhausted. "I agree. Who would have thought we would run into 5 more groups of goblins and kobolds?" Velvet said in a similarly exhausted tone. "I can understand why there are always quests for their extermination, though I wish we could do something about the smell." I complained. I know it's bad, but is it really that bad? She asked. To me it smells like a pile of rotting corpses on an extremely hot summer day. Okay, I'm glad I'm not a beastkin, she said, her face scrunched up at the thought of the smell. Don't vampires also have really good senses of smell? I asked. We do, but it's still nothing compared to a beastkin's sense of smell, she explained. For example, I can smell what is being cooked at that stall over there, but you can probably smell what ingredients they are using individually. You're not wrong, and now I'm hungry, I said, my stomach grumbling. Then let's get some skewers before making it to the guild, she said, walking over to the stall she mentioned earlier. She brought back 4 skewers and handed me 2. Thanks, how much do I owe you? I asked, about to bring out some money. Nothing, think of it as a bribe of sorts, she said laughing. You really want to join my party that badly? I asked. Yeah, at first it was because of the goddess's order, but now I genuinely want to follow you. It's weird, normally even I would be more cautious about getting to know people, but I can't help but be drawn to you, she explained. It was after she said that I realized it was the effect of a skill. Damn it, it was that skill, wasn't it? I said, feeling a bit down. What's up? Why do you look so depressed all of a sudden? She asked. Worried. I think you're being influenced by one of my skills. Up until now I've been surrounded by people who have grown a resistance to it, but now, I'm not, I explained, getting frustrated. What skill is it? She asked. It's the charm skill. I've been trying to avoid leveling it up since I got it, but it's a passive skill, so it levels up the more I interact with people, and with my particular constitution, my skills level up faster than normal, I explained. That's not even the worst part of it. If I use that skill too much, I'll get cursed. That does sound bad, she said as she sunk into thought. How about we finish our business at the guild and then I'll go and ask some subordinates of mine to help me look for a way to seal that skill or something? I think I'll take you up on that offer, I said, relieved that a solution can be found before this becomes a serious problem. We headed to the guild and reported our finished quests. After that I parted ways with Velvet and headed back to the inn. I greeted the proprietress and headed to my room. When I entered, I sat down on the bed and started talking with Tamamo. What am I going to do? Tamamo, I don't want to be cursed and I don't want to charm everyone I interact with, I said, releasing all my pent-up worry. I don't think you'll have to worry about being cursed due to your status effect immunity unique skill. As for the other, I'm not too sure what to do. Charm skill aren't my area of expertise after all, and I've already exhausted my favor from the god of statuses, she said, comforting me. What do you mean by that last part? Don't worry about it. For now just hope Velvet finds something. As an oracle vampire, she has access to lots of information, so she should be able to find something relatively quickly, she said. And look on the bright side, tonight is a full moon, she said, her voice noticeably happier. Wait, already? It feels like the last one was just yesterday, I said, shocked. That's probably due to the fact that your natural lifespan is longer than a human's in this world, not taking into account the inevitable immortality you'll reach one day. I'm honestly surprised it took you this long to notice, she said, a bit exasperated. It's decided. Tonight, I will brush your tail so thoroughly that I will get a new title tonight, I yelled in my head. You foo-foo. I'm looking forward to it, Tamamo said in a very pleasing voice. Hearing the way she said that made my face go beet red. I then said in a quieter voice, I'm expecting the same in return. Okay, naturally. Tamamo continued to laugh as dusk turned into night. Author's note, and so the Abyss Fluff and Moonfluff continue to flirt over their fluffiness. Will Abyss Fluff fall to the curse of the charm skill, or will the future apostle of fluff find a solution? Find out next time on Fluffy Tale Z. Thanks for reading. I woke up the next morning in a daze. I think Tamamo has improved her brushing technique. Tamamo, how am I ever going to surpass you if you keep getting better at brushing my tail every time I see you? I asked, remembering the feeling. Luna, my love, you are about years too early to be able to surpass me. Though you are getting better, I think any mortal you brush would turn into a puddle. Not that I want you brushing anyone else. She said that last part quietly, but I still heard it. After hearing what she said, a dumb grin spread across my face. I continued talking with Tamamo when a knock sounded from the door. Miss Luna, are you awake? It was the proprietress. I am. Is something wrong? I asked, opening the door. No, I was given a message for you, so I thought to bring it up to you with your breakfast, she said, handing over a tray. Thank you, I said, receiving the tray. After that she left me alone. I shut the door and sat back down on the bed and started to eat. After I finished, I picked up the message and started to read. Hello Luna, this is Velvet. Concerning what we discussed before parting ways yesterday, I have my subordinates looking for a way to lose or seal that skill. I'm waiting for them to report back, so if you are worried about the skill gaining even more levels, stay in your room at the inn. If we find something, I'll come and tell you. Well, it seems like I know my plan for today then, I said, letting out a sigh. That just means we can spend more time talking with each other, so isn't it fine? That's true, isn't it? I said, going along with Tamamo. But before that, let me check my status. Name, lunar race, kitsune sex, female level, class, quad mage HP, error MP, errorvit, error def, error res, error str, error int, error edgy, error dex, error skills, presence detection, trap detection, trap disarming, trap creation, dagger LV, short sword LV, archery LV, poison crafting, appraisal LV, mana regeneration LV, stealth LV, charm LV, cooking LV, sewing LV, sleep resistance LV, restraint LV, brushing technique LV. Magic skills, ice magic LV, lightning magic LV, healing magic LV, space magic LV. Race skills, illusion magic LV, spirit vision, fox fire, fox transformation, enhanced senses, night vision, enhanced physical strength, unique skills, status effect immunity, ice mist, language comprehension, infinite inventory blessings, divine protection, and titles: divine protection of the moon goddess, reincarnated, fated one of the moon goddess, abyssal fluff, master of ice, master of lightning, master of illusions, short sword master, magic swordsman. Tamamo, why are most of my stats listed as error? I asked, concerned. Does this have anything to do with what you said last night about the god of statuses? It does. He owed me a favor and I decided to use that favor to help you. At the rate your stats grew, your status would look more like a math equation than an actual status panel. So I asked him if he could simplify the way you saw your stats. It seems like it is still being worked on, she explained. Do you know how much longer it's going to be like this? I asked, relieved I hadn't somehow broken my status yet. I don't really know, but probably not long. Though this might confuse most of the world when it's done. After saying this, I got a bad premonition. What do you mean by that? I asked, a little panicked. He said it was impossible to modify just one person's status, so he had to make it a whole system update. You don't have to panic so much though. He told me that he has wanted to update it for a while now and just needed a push to get it done, she said, trying to calm me down. That's a relief. I didn't want to be reason for this change of the world to be completely on me, I said, calming down. What change in the world do you want to be responsible for, then? She asked, her curiosity piqued. That's a surprise for when I ascend. Just know that it will be something that will leave you in tears of happiness, I said with a smug grin. I'm looking forward to it then, she said, the expectation in her voice clear. Now that I think of it, I haven't tried to figure out how to use my fox transformation skill yet, I said. Do you have any advice? Depends. Some people just instinctually know. Others need a stimulus for the first time. There was this one guy a few hundred years ago that transformed after doing a weird dance. The only thing that was common between all of them was the image, Tamamo explained like a teacher. So, it's like magic, then? I asked. Yes and no. It is in the sense that it needs an image but only for the initial step. Once transformed, no image is needed to maintain the transformation. This is the easy part. It's the rest that people often have trouble with, she explained in more detail. Thank you, Miss Tamamo, I said like a student to her teacher. You foo-foo. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking, she said, trying to tease me. I wasn't trying to hide it in the first place, I teased back. We started flirting again and lost track of time. I don't know how long it lasted, but after a while I heard a knock on the door. Luna, it's me, Velvet. I've got some information that could help you, Velvet said through the door. I got up and let her in. She was carrying a large bag filled with what I assumed was books. She put it down on the ground with an audible thunk. All of these are books about ways to suppress or seal skills, as well as others that can counteract them, she said while massaging her shoulder. Thanks, those must have been heavy. Sure, they were, but it's nothing that bad, she replied. Come over here for a second. I'll use some healing magic, I said, offering to help her out a bit. It's really not necessary to, she started to say. Just be quiet and get over here. You're helping me out, so it's the least I can do, I said, interrupting her. After realizing I wasn't taking no for an answer, she walked over to me, and I used some healing magic on her. Damn, that was effective. Even old training injuries feel better. Just how good are you at healing? She asked, astonished. Almost level. It's not that big a deal, I said matter-of-factly. Did no one ever teach you common sense? Anyone at your age normally only have skills at level 4, maybe 5. Were you trained by Spartans since the age of 5? I said, remembering all of the training I did. Even then, it doesn't make sense, she said, still trying to figure out the reason behind my strength. Just tell her about the divine protection. She already knows about our relationship, so there's no reason she shouldn't know. Tamamo gave her input. The reason that in most of my other skill are maxed out or close to it is because of Tamamo's divine protection, I said, following Tamamo's suggestion. After hearing my words, she froze completely. She turned around slowly like a rusty machine. When I could see her face, her eyes were wide enough that her eyeballs could roll right out. So, you're a fated one? She said, her voice really quiet. I have that title too. I confirmed. This is a much bigger deal than I thought it was. I thought that you were just a mortal that caught the eye of the goddess. It's nothing new for gods to find mortals they favor and bless them, but divine protection is on a completely different level. Luna, no goddess Luna, do not under any circumstances let anyone else know about this, unless you want people to worship the ground you walk on. The more she said, the more she moved away, eventually trying to prostrate herself in front of me. Please don't start doing that, and I already know. The only reason I revealed that is because Tamamo said it was okay. I said, exasperated. But I can't show you any disrespect. She said, still prostrating. Like Luna said, don't. Remember the reason I even told you about her in the first place. You and your mother are the only two vampires in this city that aren't basically fanatics. Tamamo said to both of us. As you wish, goddess. Velvet said, immediately changing tune. You change tune really quickly. I noted. I may not be as fanatic as other vampires, but I still respect the goddess, and anyone closely connected with her, she said, explaining her point of view. Well, anyway, let's get to reading. I don't want to be cooped up in a room for the rest of my life, I said while pulling out the books Velvet brought and putting them on the bed. Author's note, here is a late chapter today. I had something to do today that I learned about like minutes before I had to go and do it, so this chapter might not be as good as previous ones, so sorry about that. I'll try to get into the groove and get another chapter out tonight. Hopefully it will be better than this one. Thanks for reading. Before we started looking through books, I had a thought, so I decided to ask Tamamo about it. Hey Tamamo, do you know what the effects of the curse you get for overusing charm is? I'm not too sure, but I can go and find out. Why do you ask? She asked, puzzled. Well, it might be a stretch, but what if the curse is that it turns the skill itself into a curse? Then wouldn't it take care of itself because of my status effect immunity? I'll go and ask the god of statuses. He should know everything about every skill. I'll be back shortly, she said, and our connection went quiet. Hey Velvet, before we start looking, let's get to know each other better, I said. Why so suddenly? I thought this was an urgent matter, she asked, confused. It is, but the idea I just had about this skill might make searching through all of these books pointless. Tamamo went off to check this theory with the god of statuses, so we should wait for her to get back, I explained. I see, then if we do this, can I ask a question first? She asked. I could see the curiosity in her eyes, so I nodded my head in affirmation. Can you talk with the goddess whenever you want? Was what she asked. I can talk to her whenever I want for however long I want, and better yet, I get to see her every full moon, I bragged. It was at this point I realized that, when it comes to Tamamo, I get this weird feeling of superiority, like I get to have her all to myself. I don't know why I realized this just now. I lived this whole life in a shrine dedicated solely to her, surrounded by people who worship her, and I never realized this. I guess it took meeting someone else that can talk with her to fully cement the fact that I'm special to her. Foo 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 foo, ha 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 ha. I started laughing uncontrollably. What's so funny? She asked while looking at me like I went crazy. Sorry, I just realized something about myself that I never noticed before and couldn't help but laugh about it, I said, catching my breath. And what, pray tell, is this revelation of yours? She said, a bit fed up. Well, and I know I'm going to sound a bit stuck up. I noticed the reaction you had when I told you about how I talk with Tamamo all the time was a bit jealous. When I saw that, I thought back on where I've lived and who was around me until now, and thought all these people worship Tamamo so much, but I'm the only one of them who gets to talk and be intimate with her, and I couldn't help but laugh. I explained, starting to chuckle again. You really do sound stuck up when you say that, but I'm not going to blame you. I'd feel the same, if not more superior, if I was in the same position. Though there is one person who won't like that. As she said these words, she clamped her hands over her mouth. I shouldn't have said that. What do you mean? My tone went from joyful to cold. Velvet, is there something I need to know about regarding Tamamo? Luna, your expression is really scary right now, she said as she tried to get away from me. Whatever do you mean? Velvet, now answer my question, I said as I froze the window and door so she couldn't escape. Now, tell me everything. It didn't take long for Velvet to spill the information she knew. I see, I'm not very fond of torture, but I guess it never hurts to learn a new skill unless it's charm, I said, my mood still cold. Forgive me, goddess, I might have put your wife on a strange path, Velvet said while tears flowed down her face. What does she mean by that? Luna, and why is the window and door frozen? What happened? She asked, very confused about what could have possibly happened in the minutes she was gone. Welcome back, Tamamo. What were the results of your inquiry? I asked, the cold smile still on my face. Hey, Velvet, what happened to Luna? She's being really weird right now? I'm sorry, goddess, we were having a discussion about you, and I accidentally let slip about that vampire in the Demon Empire, Velvet said, getting even more depressed. Yeah, that'll do it. Hey, Luna, calm down and think. That vampire is hundreds of years old and leagues stronger than you, Tamamo said, trying to calm me down. I know that, Tamamo. I'm not planning on going for him at the moment, as much as I want to. But that doesn't mean I can't start preparing for prolonging his suffering for as long as possible. I mean, there are so many options to go for. Even more since I also have high-level healing magic. Foo 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 foo. Just you wait, you filthy mongrel. Just, you, wait. Foo 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 foo. Goddess, I think Luna might be broken. What do we do? Velvet asked, getting even more scared. Don't worry, she's not broken, just possessive. It's honestly quite cute. How is anything she just said cute? She said, reaching a breaking point. You'll understand when you find the one you're fated to be with. For the time being, all we can do is wait. She won't be like this for much longer. After about minutes after Tamamo got back, I finally snapped out of my dark thoughts. So, Tamamo, what did you learn from the god of statuses? I asked as if the past minutes never happened. It was as you thought. Luna, the charm skill turns itself into a curse that ultimately ends up killing the holder by having all of those it charmed turn on the holder by switching their feelings of affection into pure hatred. She explained to both me and Velvet. How nasty, we both said simultaneously. I know, right? Though I guess that's what happens when you use what is basically a brainwashing skill too much. It'll have to backfire on you at some point, where the world would pretty much belong to one person. She said, giving her opinion on the effect it could have if left unchecked. I agree, but I didn't even want to obtain this skill in the first place. I just randomly got it when I tried acting cute when I was little. I said, getting depressed. Even the god of statuses was surprised when I told him why I was asking about this. He told me that he thought he got rid of that skill a long time ago. She said, trying to make me feel better. I guess that just goes to show that even gods aren't all-knowing, huh? Cheering up a little due to Tamamo's words. None of us ever claimed to be, she said in reply. You both realize I'm still here, right? Velvet asked after getting tired of being left out of the conversation. Sorry about that. Also sorry for wasting you and your subordinates' time finding all these books, when it turns out I just need to max out the skill and it'll take care of itself. I said apologetically. It's no problem. All those books were just laying around collecting dust anyway. You can still read them. You never know what will happen in the future when you're immortal, she said, laughing it off. True enough, I agreed. So, with this out of the way, what do we do now? Velvet asked. I, for one, would like to know what the two of you were talking about earlier. You said it had something to do with me, right? Tamamo asked in an amused tone. We continued to talk about random stuff the rest of the night. Author's note, now I feel a bit of pity for the things I'm going to have that character go through when we get there. Not much, but just a little. It's like that oh no, anyway meme. No one will get in the way of Abyss Fluff and Moon Fluff. I won't allow it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for reading.